Hey everyone, it's Dorcas and welcome back to my channel. So for this video, I decided to forego the intro and just jump right to it. So let's go! So for March, I decided to do the opener a little bit differently than I'd done for January and February. If you recall, I did like a little window opener on that second page with a quote on that first page. And I needed more space for my calendar, and I found that hole on the second page was really cutting into some valuable real estate on the next spread. So I'm still going for, practicing my hand lettering with this quote on the first part, and you'll see the full thing later. And it was actually a lot of fun to map it out. It's a lot more illustrative than my previous ones, and I'm enjoying just practicing different ways to present these quotes. So I'm intentionally leaving out the first word of this quote, which will read, "Sunflowers end up facing the sun, but they go through a lot of dirt to find their way there." And the reason why I'm leaving that first word out is because I'm going to paint it, and then I'm going to add the letters on top. And so the theme for this month is sunflowers. I wanted something bright and cheerful, maybe to cheer up my kind of dreary mood for the past few months. And I just wanted lots of brightness in my life and in my journal. And so now I'm coloring my sunflower petals with this really bright yellow marker, Crayola Super Tips, of course. And even though I wanted to add all those inking and details after I had, colored in that spot, I totally forgot to do that with dirt. So I was just super careful not to smudge the ink, even though, the ink is pretty waterproof and good. If you rub it too much, it will lift up. And so same with end up facing the, I just was really careful not to go over the actual letters with the marker so as to not smudge it. And then once I started coloring in the centers of these sunflowers, I should have gone with a lighter color so that you can see all the little details I had put on the center. That totally got covered up with the dark brown. And once I had colored all the flowers on the right side, they totally didn't look like sunflowers. Like the proportions of the petals to the centers were off, and they end up looking more like black-eyed Susans. But the first one is a solid sunflower, I think. And so I used some gold paint for the sun as well as the word sun, just to give it some shine. And then I went in and started adding more details to each of the petals to give it some depth. It was painstaking work, but it really adds, a nice dimension to it. It makes them more lifelike. It's just interesting how simple little lines can really elevate something from a flat image to something that has more life and more dimension. Now the reason why I was holding off on adding the word sunflowers to that first part of the quote is because from past experience I knew that writing on top of that gold paint was going to give me trouble, and I still, while I was filming this, did not know how I was going to solve that problem. And so sure enough, I tried with a fine liner, and like in the past month in February, it just sometimes the lines are so light, or the fine liner just does not come out as black and dark as I wish it would, as it would on just regular paper. Something about the paint just makes it more smudgy. So sure enough, I tried it with the fine liner at first go and did not like it, so I had to paint over it again. And while I was giving that time to dry, I decided to add some little shine spots on the sunflower petals. And then I went over the words in dirt just one more time to hold in it. And the last part of the quote, to find their way there, also got really covered up by that brown marker. So I first tried to go over it with another pass of my fine liner, and then I tried to add some shine with the gold paint, like little tiny dots. So for this next go ahead of writing sunflowers for that quote, I decided to go with some black gouache paint. I was very nervous because I did not want to mess this up, and I figured if I try and paint over it, even though the gold is very opaque, I was just nervous that I wouldn't be able to cover it up. So I, just wrote it out really lightly, and then I went back and added more paint to the downstrokes. And then I tried to do that for end, but then I decided, nah, let me just quit while I'm ahead. Now I'm gonna start my monthly calendar, and you'll see that this time I have more space than I did before. I'm able to span both pages and give myself more room to jot down the month's events and any other special things I need to keep in mind. And P.S. how delicious is it that March starts right on Sunday? It's like, And so then the boxes on the bottom are for goals and then things that will be happening in the coming month. And then I'm continuing with this sunflower, not sunflower theme. Let's just say yellow flowers. And even though I didn't quite like how dark the brown was in the previous sunflowers that I had painted on the previous pages, for consistency, I decided to just roll with it. So here I am just coloring in the petals, and then like I did in the previous one, I'm going to go in and add my details and my shading after it's already been colored. Again, doing this after coloring it just prevents a world of smudges. And now I still wanted, some kind of cutout situation like I did with my, January and February spreads. I just decided to do it a little bit differently this time. I just cut out a part of that, second page in the opener, but I think it creates a cool effect where when you're just open to that first page, it looks like there's a whole field of flowers, but then, that first layer of flowers turns over, and then you have just those flat flowers in the calendar page. And now on to my mood, and habit tracker. So again, keeping with the sunflower, not sunflower theme, I am going to draw out a petal for each day of the month, and you know, a different color will go for a different mood, and as the month goes on, I will color the flower in. And the key for the colors is up in those little falling petals. And in the bottom, just 3 simple habit trackers. I like how this flower turned out. I almost wish I could just leave it in black and white and not color it in at all. And then I decided to carry on that playlist spread that I created for February and do it for March as well. So again, I will be keeping track of all of the songs that I am loving over the course of the month, and then I will print out tiny covers to fit into those squares, along with the title of the song and the artist. And so for the first week of the month, I'm going to go with columns again. So I'm going to, you know, designate a day of the week for each of those columns. This time, because I have more space, I'm giving Saturday and Sunday their own columns. And then I'm going to add these little, not sunflowers, at the corner. And then that little box underneath the flowers will be for any notes. And then the 2 boxes at the bottom, again, for my journal entries. I started adding the details to that first flower, and then I was like, oh wait, don't want to do that. I don't want to smudge it. So I went ahead and colored it in, and then I'll go back and add details after. Now I wanted to do another fun little cutout for my weekly spread by just cutting around the petals in this corner right here. Again, much easier than January and February were. And then I'm going to have a little March calendar at the very top. And so as the month goes on, I'll be able to peep that little March calendar at the corner of each of my spreads. I think it'll be really handy to just have it up there, and it's a cool effect. I might do this again in the future. So now let's just take a look through my March pages. I love how bold and bright this month is gonna be. It's shiny and cheerful, and I need some of that in my life right now. I like this field of flowers created by the pages and then the cutaway. I like that I have way more space in my March calendar. This flower, I'm gonna have to color it in, but it's gonna pain me because so much work went into it. I have my tiny little habit trackers and the playlist, and then this cool cutout for my weekly spreads. Love it! Yeah, I really like it. I hope this cheers me up. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video and watching me create these March pages in my bullet journal. And please like and subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll see you all in my next one. Bye!